Hi, everyone. You do not want to miss this episode. I'm talking to Calvin Hexter. He's the owner of Calvin Realty in Edmonton, also the founder of REIcon. We're going to talk about real estate conferences. We're going to start talking about how to get invested in the real estate market, what to look for, how to build a team, and we're going to talk about the market out west. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Control and Compound. I'm Darren Mitchell, and joining me today is a guest. I'm excited to get to spend a little bit more time with you, Calvin. We spent a little time together, and I'm excited to get together today so you can help our listeners learn more about real estate. So, Calvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, Calvin, you're a real estate agent. You run this REIcon, but before any of that stuff happened, you started out as a real estate investor. Tell me about that journey when you started real estate investing before you ever thought of getting into the other businesses.
Definitely. And just so everybody knows, I didn't, just come out of high school and knew that real estate investing was the right journey, was the right vehicle to get me to my goals. I went through so many different investment strategies, fail, but it wasn't the point of like fail, I'm going to pick myself up and do it again. It was like, I hated it and I knew I was never going to love it. And it was like stocks, mutual funds, it was many other things. And then I came across real estate investing because my friend called me, said he bought his neighbor's house. I thought it was a weekend party house. He's like, no, I can actually rent it out and make $500 a month in cash flow. I'm like, what? That's a thing. And you can actually see it, drive by it, and it appreciates and you get mortgage pay down. Anyways, I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow your steps. I'm going to buy property this year. And bought my first property, did a BRRRR, didn't know I was doing a BRRRR until probably 3 years afterwards. Made every single mistake in the book. But I was like, you know what? These mistakes feel different than my other mistakes that I had in real estate, in other investing. And I was like, I feel like I can learn from these mistakes. And I feel like this can actually get me somewhere. And I feel like this can change the trajectory of not only my life, but the family's life as well. And at that point, I was like, I think I have something. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to buckle down. And, it really comes down to how strong is that fire, that desire, because you're always going to go through challenges no matter whatever career you go on, there's always going to be hurdles. And I was able to overcome these challenges. Next property was a little bit easier. Next property was a little bit easier, to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm making more wins than failures at this point. I should get my real estate license, and went into it guns a blazing as a full-time, real estate investing realtor. So
Very, very cool, and I love that you invested in yourself. You didn't think them as failures in the real estate market. You learned from them, but you took action, and that's what I find so many people. That's paralysis by analysis. Sometimes they just over and over again overthink things and they don't take action. And my experience dealing with the successful people like yourself and wealthy people is they take action. They might not always win on every time, but they learn something every time they take action. So good for you. But if you were a young, or you're talking to a younger or a new to real estate investor today, what would you say some of the initial steps, or what would you do first if you were listening to this podcast and you're going, man, okay, is it the right time for real estate? What should I do? How do I get started? Having gone through it yourself and helped many other people go through it, what would be your piece of advice?
you've already said part of it. I would start by listening to podcasts, reading books, just kind of get some familiarity with it, get some familiarity with the terms, get some idea of what are ways you can make money in real estate. And then from there, step two, I would start assembling a team. Once you have a concept of what real estate investing is, when I first started, when I was 19, you could have asked me what a property manager was, and I couldn't give you an answer. I had no idea. Nobody in my life did any real estate investing. I didn't know. I was probably the only person on this planet that didn't know someone that was I didn't know anybody that was a realtor either. I feel like every family has a realtor. I didn't have a single one. I do absolutely nothing. And so I would assemble your team as step two. Your team supports you more than you think. And so it doesn't feel like everything's on your shoulders. And having a strong team is like having a strong mortgage broker, handyman, contractor, lawyer, real estate coach, or a mentor. Even just joining groups like support groups, accountability groups. There's so many little like coffee shop groups you can go to just to be around and just listen, right? Just be around those people, listen to the failures, listen to the successes. And the best thing about real estate investing is everybody has their own authentic journey. Your journey is not going to ever be identical to someone else's. It's going to be authentically yours, and that's something that nobody can ever take from you. You're going to get scars along the way, but that's going to help create wisdom and experience to help you learn further and be able to make the right choices going down the road. And, down the road, you might actually end up being a coach or a mentor yourself. It's funny how that works, but I would definitely start there. And, the team is absolutely essential, whether you're investing in your own backyard or in someone else's.
So help me walk through that power team, because I love it. Like a lot of real estate investors that are successful talk about the power team, having the right team, having all these people. But if I'm brand new to the real estate investing, like I'm not going to have a lawyer on speed dial. I'm not going to have a real estate agent on speed dial or a handyman on speed dial. So how as a new investor, how do you assemble this team when you really don't have the experience? I understand if you had a bunch of wins under your belt, all these people, it's going to be easier to attract them. But how is it that you attract them as a newer investor?
This is what I would do. I wouldn't go on Facebook, and I wouldn't go on like an investment group and ask for a realtor or a lawyer, because you're going to get tens of thousands. Like, you're going to get so many names, it's going to bog you down and you're not going to have any idea where to start. What I would do is I would either join some kind of online meetup focused on real estate investing, or I'd go somewhere in person, a real estate meetup in person, and I would connect with somebody that I felt like I could have connection with. And I would ask them, I would say, hey, so I'm assembling my power team. Who do you use? I'm looking for a really good lawyer right now, and I'd love to have coffee with one of them next week. Do you have one or two people you can recommend for me? And at that point, then you start to interview them. And these professional partners will want to meet with you, because they're also looking at, growing their business, most of them anyways, right? And so go meet with them and use your gut. Like, does it feel like you can get along with it? Does it feel like they have your best intentions? Are they asking, good quality questions to get to know you? Because ultimately you want to have the team that helps support you, and they need to be investment focused if that is your goal, investment real estate. That's what I would do.
I love it. Okay, so you invest in yourself, you read books, you join groups, you learn, you listen to podcasts, then you go to one of these groups and you ask for references, and you start building your team out. So you're going to have a team, you're ready to go. Now, what type of investments do you start out at? And again, I guess today would be different probably than 10 years ago and 20 years ago. But given the market conditions today, what type of opportunities are you seeing out there for seasoned investors as well as newer investors?
So for a brand new investor, we got to think about the profile. A brand new investor is probably working a 9 to 5 job. They might be making a little bit of extra money or not on a monthly basis. And you want to be able to utilize the least money down, because your biggest barrier for entry is going to be your down payment in most cases, right? And like you said before, sometimes there's going to be the paralysis by analysis. Once you get beyond that and you're in a group and you start hearing about other people taking action, it does get a little bit easier. And I'll tell you, your first property is always the hardest one, in my opinion. Just trust me on that. Just rip the Band-Aid off, just move forward. Obviously, make sure it's a smart decision. But off the beginning, I would definitely recommend the house hack. The house hack is a really popular tool for investors to put the least amount of money down, get into an investment. And a house hack is simply where you're moving into a property, putting 5% down and renting out a portion of it. So you're living in this property, and then, portion of it is run like a business. So whether you buy a home that you're renting out the basement, or maybe you're buying a townhouse that doesn't have a basement suite and you're renting out bedrooms, that's a form of house hacking as well. As long as you're making some kind of additional income that's either subsidizing your expenses on that particular property, or you take that income that you're generating and you're using it towards your next down payment. Let's go through a very basic scenario. Say that you're looking at buying a legally suited house, and in Edmonton, you can buy one in a good C area for $400,000. So at 5% down, you're putting down $20,000. Okay. Maybe have an extra $5,000 for capital expenditures or maintenance, things like that. You move into the home and you maybe move into the basement, right? And you rent out the main floor. Right now, you can rent out main floors for around $19.50. Okay. That's a lot of money. So instead of you being responsible for every single expense on that property, now think of that $19.50 either being as bonus or helping you pay off your expenses. I would take that $19.50, and if you have the capability of paying off all expenses on your own, take that $19.50 and times it by 12. What does that equal to you as extra income at the end of the year? That's a pretty substantial amount of money, right? What is that?
23,50,
20,
23,000 and change.
There we go. So that could, after a year, of renting out a part of your home, you living in the basement, next home, you now move on to your next home, maybe you move into the main floor because now you have a girlfriend or now you have a boyfriend, maybe whatever it is, right? That's the evolution of life, right? So house hack. And now you also rent out that basement. So you leave that home, you move into the main floor of another home. You now rent out that basement. Now that entire house is a rental income generating house. Maybe you're generating $600-700 a month, depending if you're property managing it or not. So that's extra income you're making on a monthly basis. Now you can start to see the snowball effect. You move into the main floor of your next property, you rent out your basement for say $1,350. Now you're getting $1,350 plus that $600 you can start to accumulate on a monthly basis. But not only that, now it's already been a year down the road, you're going to start to see a little bit of mortgage pay down and maybe even appreciation. Do the house hack the third time. And as long as you're working with a good mortgage broker that tells a good story to the lender, yes, you can do it 3 times. You can continue, you can jump to the next one. Maybe next property you upsize, you go a little bit larger because maybe now you have a kid. Same thing. Now you move out, you rent out the main floor. You're making another $600 from that second property. And now you're renting out the basement again. All of a sudden, you're on 3 properties within 3 years. And really what's fueling the down payment is not your money. It's the money that you're making from the business because we need to treat it as a business. Now, all of a sudden, think about the trajectory of your life. If you were client A and you bought a house and you lived in the entire property and it was 3 years down the road, yes, you'd get some mortgage pay down. You'd get some appreciation, but you'd be missing the cash flow. Now look at client B that does the house hack method, jumps from property to property to property, is now on their 3rd property after 3 years. And now you have 2 additional houses that you're not paying down the mortgage yourself, your tenants are, and you're also getting appreciation. The trajectory of your income, of your life, and having these golden nuggets, when your kid grows up now 25 years down the road, and now this asset's worth $700,000, I mean, it can truly be life-changing. So how you plan your first couple steps in real estate, I think can be absolutely detrimental to the trajectory of how your life, what your life could be. And it's never too late. If you're listening to Darren and I right now and you're like, well, shit, I just wanted to buy the nice fancy house. I wanted to buy the nice big truck and I want to go on vacation all the time. That's okay. You totally can do that. You're never too late to start, right? Don't feel like because you're 30, 40, 50, 60. I work with an investor that's 65 years old that's just getting started. He's like, Calvin, I need to get on the golf course more because all my friends are on the golf course. I want to go golfing 3 times a week. And I'm like, you know what, Gary? Let's figure it out. And we have a plan for him and he is pumped. He's golfing right now twice a week. There's one more time a week. Our goal is to get him in 2025. Then he's hitting his goal of 3 times a week. And financially, it's his investments that are propelling that. It's not him working at Tim Hortons or his contractor position to get him to that goal, right? It's having the right plan, but it's most importantly, don't just rely on yourself. Team up with the right individuals that can help you, that have the experience, that have the war rooms, that have the battles that they've gone through. They can help you, find out what that end goal is, and we'll help you work backwards on how to achieve it. But it's pretty amazing. My hair stands up, Darren, when I talk about this every single time. I've been talking about this for over a decade. I still get ramped up. I still get so excited because we get to see people's lives change every single day by making some of these decisions. It's exciting, isn't it?
I love it. And I love the process, right? Because so many people they don't know where to start. And then when they start, they might do one and they get a little scared. So I love the way you just walk through a process that you take people through. Because if you have a good process, then that's going to keep you on track. And that's, like you said, all of a sudden you wake up down the road and you're like, holy crap, I got 3 properties, partially paid for and massive appreciation. I've got all this equity now. And it's literally, it's life-changing. Now I want to go back because we get a lot of listeners in Ontario and BC that are going, how much did he say you can buy a house for in Edmonton? So tell me about the Edmonton real estate market. I know it's been fairly hot, I think, the last year or so, but tell me about the real estate market in Edmonton. Where are the opportunities? Where are the price ranges right now?
Average single-family detached right now is $456,000, right in that range. It'll change month to month by a couple percent, but it's very, very affordable. That's why we have so much migration. There's a lot of Albertans that are coming back to Alberta that have left because they're seeing more opportunity as well. I always feel bad. I have so many referral partners in the other provinces, other realtors, and they send us all the clients, and they call me up every couple of months and like, Calvin, how come you haven't sent me a referral? I'm like, we just don't have anybody migrating out east right now at this moment or west. But as soon as they do, so there is the ebb and flow, and it's always going to be like that. They're coming into Alberta right now. Believe me, they will come back, east, they'll go back west. right now, some opportunities that we're seeing, well, I'll say quarter four opportunities because I always like to speak on the quarter four opportunities. I think in most markets, especially as we see less primary home buyers, there's more opportunities in getting better deals. This is the time, in my opinion, you want to be sending out the most amount of offers. Quarter four is the opportunity to get the lowest pricing. And so you have to understand from a seller's perspective, if you're a seller right now and you haven't sold yet, but you see that the market's super hot in Alberta, and they're like watching the news, they're like, well, why isn't my house selling? I've been on the market for 3 weeks, and it's, you know what, usually it's because of price or something quirky about the property. These sellers usually want to sell and they just want an offer and they're not willing to adjust their list price. That's actually a thing. So just know that a lot of sellers out there, they don't want to adjust their list price. They want to keep it exactly the way it is, but they're waiting for an offer, even if it's very low. We've had $2 million listings and they're like, I'll accept a $1.5 million offer if you can get it to me. And I'm like, why don't you just adjust the price to 1.6? And they're like, no, we're not doing it. That's like 30% of sellers that we deal with. So right now there's huge opportunity, especially properties that are vacant, because most sellers have to check on them through to insurance reasons every 2 days, or else it can be void. And winter can be a very deadly position for properties. We've seen furnaces stop. We've seen pipes freeze. No seller wants to go and shovel their property every second or third day. So this is the time to get some of the best deals, especially for investors, because most of the primary buyers are like, I ain't moving in the wintertime. I'm expecting that prices will probably continue to go up in the spring of next year, but still very, very affordable. Like I was saying before, Darren, average price point, I mean, $456,000. You can get legally suited houses in good, like balanced areas for around $420,000. And, you know, if you're investing from a distance, yes, you have to put down 20%. And if you're like, you know what, Calvin, I don't have $80,000 or $90,000 to put down, seller financing. Seller financing, seller financing, seller financing all day long. Specifically, agreement for sales are popular. And the way that works is you could put a lower down payment down. You keep the seller on the mortgage for whatever specified term. And it's not uncommon to put down only 10%, have the mortgage stay on for the whatever remaining term of that house is. And then you pick up the mortgage at the end of it. But you can get into properties at much cheaper and you get all the mortgage pay down, you get the cash flow. So if you get a chance, Google agreement for sales, and it's a really popular option. So if you're like, I'm listening to this, I don't have any extra money, I don't have an extra $110,000 to invest. We have individuals that are putting like 5-10% down on properties right now as investment real estate, and they're making it work. And right now is the time to ask sellers for it, because we find that desperation can be the highest. Not everybody's feeling like that, but I would say, you know, there's many sellers that are feeling that, because we work with a lot of them as well. And so I'm giving you guys the secret key to unlock deals right now. Take the key, put it in and try. If you don't, and you're just looking at it, the deals aren't just going to happen, and you have to try. And it's probably not going to be your first offer, your second. It may not be your third, but it might be your fourth or your fifth. And I can tell you, once you find that first deal, you're going to get addicted. You're going to get addicted, and it gets exciting. So
cool. I love your passion, Calvin. I just want to pivot because I know, like, you know, yes, you sell homes, you work with a lot of real estate investors, but at the end of the day, you're a business owner, and I want to say thank you for being a business owner. We need more business owners in Canada. Tell me about the journey of just building up your business, not just your real estate investing business, but your real estate business. How did you build that? And then we'll get into this conference that you started and just had a huge success recently. So tell me about the building of the business and how it led to this conference you have.
yeah, so I think in the beginning when building a business, and I have no experience building a business prior to Calvin Realty, just so you guys know, I didn't come from a business degree or anything along those lines. The most experience I got was from a regional manager position at a health club chain in Alberta called World Health. So if you're in the area and you probably, at one point, you maybe checked it. Anyways, that was my experience. So don't feel like you need to have like a business. You don't need to have extensive business experience to beforehand. Okay. Just get going. Like Darren was saying, like sometimes you just got to take action. Just take action, learn from your challenges, improve, maybe get a mentor or a coach along the way to make things easier. So I started off and I knew that I needed a team because I came from a strong sports background and I didn't want to do it alone. It's no fun sharing wins and failures with yourself. And I look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, Calvin, good job today. You just did this. It doesn't really hit the same. But when you have a team and you're able to share wins together and they're able to share wins with you, that's what it's really about, in my opinion. That's the excitement. That's what gets me pumped up. And so off the beginning, it starts with one person, one other person. First thing I ever did was hire an admin, because I was like, okay, so what's the lowest, what is the tasks that I'm least, what do I dislike the most? And I was like, I really hate admin work. I'm not naturally organized. I've learned to be organized, but naturally that is not my suit. Okay. If you guys ever get a chance to do a color profile test, highly recommend doing it. I'm very much a blue and an orange. And you want to look for someone that's a gold. So if you guys get a chance, do the color profile test if you're business owners or whatever it is, and you want a gold. You want a gold because they are ones that genuinely like paperwork. They're the ones that are like grammar kings or queens, and it'll save you a lot of time in your interviewing. So I started with an admin, and from there, it helped me do more deals as a realtor. And when I'm doing more deals, I'm like, I can't handle doing all these deals myself. I need to hire another realtor. So I hired another realtor, and I was like, admin, can you handle 2 realtors? And they're like, yes. And they're like, okay, what about 3? Because now we're getting busier. So then he handled 3, and then we ended up hiring marketing. I was like, you know what? Well, we need to feed them even in the slower months. So let's do some additional marketing, and let's get everyone's belly nice and full of leads and deals. And then at that point, then it was like, what does the business need? And it's constant reflection and then growth. And we got to a point, Darren, last year, we had 16 team members on the Calvin Realty team. Our inception date was 2021 of October. So we grew relatively quick. And the culture changed. The culture changed. And I was like, why am I doing this? I'm not having fun anymore. I'm like, a quarter of the teammates aren't even coming to the meetings. They're not engaged. They're not producing. And I was like, I don't want to create this mega team because it's not the culture that I'm looking for. We ended up downsizing. We're at 10 now. And for us to hire any other teammates on, it has to be 100% vote on every single teammate that we're ready. And so we've been able to recapture the same culture that we had in the beginning. But that's one thing that a lot of business owners, I think, struggle with, is they may grow too fast, and you'll start to lose the mojo of your business, like what made it special in the beginning, right? And you'll start to notice that clients will start to go to competitors, things will start to change. And I think that's perfectly natural, but it's your ability to reflect and pivot when you need to, whether it's because of the market or something specific with your business.
Yeah, I love that culture thing. Actually, I had a couple interviews today, and we shared our core values, and we went through the EOS system, the Entrepreneur Operating System, where we identified the 4 core values that we determine we want as to represent as our business, and for our employees to represent when we're dealing with clients. And we actually went through this called People Finder, and we actually put all our employees through it, and we're saying, okay, do they fit? Now, the good news is they did, but even in the interview process this morning with a couple candidates, we shared our core values and like, this is who we are. Do you think you would fit in an organization like this? Because we have an incredible team, and we too in the past have hired people we probably shouldn't have. If you do that, it's only a matter of time before they go or you ask them to go. And hopefully you can make that decision quicker rather than later. But we found that was really helpful to go through, even in the interview process. It's like, listen, if you don't fit this, and this as a value, we're not a fit for you, because it's more important to us to grow well than to just grow rapidly and not do that. Now, I am a little disappointed. You're saying you don't need an MBA to start a business, and I wasted all those years getting one. And no, I'm kidding. I actually interviewed someone today with an MBA, and I go, "Yeah, I don't care about MBAs. They're useless." And Christina goes, "Don't you have one?" I go, "Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. No, they're cool." But that's what I found. The difference today for business owners and from a hiring perspective is maybe 20 years ago, you looked for an education to say, oh, do you have this degree? Do you have that degree? I'm like, our advertising guy in Amsterdam, I don't even know if he finished high school. He might have an MBA. He could be a PhD. I have no idea, but I know he's really good at the skill we hired him for. Mm-hmm. And the same with our podcast, our social media people are like, I'm hiring people for skills. So when people like you said, think they need all this specialized background. No, I don't think you do. But again, it goes back to like starting a real estate investor. You need to educate yourself, surround yourself with people that know more than you, and grow that way. So that was really cool. I like the way you shared that. Okay, I want to pivot to this REIcon, because I was hoping to get out to Edmonton and just we had a scheduling conflict, so I couldn't make it. But I've talked to a bunch of people that were there, and I hear it was a big success. So tell me about REIcon, why you did it, what was it, and are you going to do it again?
Absolutely. Darren, we missed you. We genuinely missed you. We're like, we're excited to have you though. We're excited to have you next year. As long as we can, we might have to change the schedule to make sure that you guys are able to come because you guys are fantastic as well. And REIcon is, if you didn't get a chance to attend, it's all about collaboration. And so what we noticed before with a lot of these, a lot of these summits or conferences, a lot of times they would kind of stay within, one or two coaches, and they're usually within that same organization. And we wanted to compile all of what we felt were some of the most influential bodies in real estate and put them on the same stage together. And because I felt like there was a void right now in Alberta for these type of conferences. And so we wanted to create it. If someone was going to do it, we wanted to do it. And the amount of hours that it took to obviously go into it is just, it's countless hours. But it turned out to be a really big success, and there was a high demand for it. We had, the nice thing about these events is no matter what stage of investor you are, we can help you build confidence in the next step of your journey as an investor, whether you're beginner, brand new, beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And one of my favorite components of it is day one was very much big room. We had, some of the big names like Alfonso, Tim Sy, Michael Ponte, Patrick Francie, speak, Wayne Hillier. And then day two, you got to pick your journey. So based on the speaker you really connected with and the concept, we had like multifamily specific breakout rooms or raising capital. And I learned so much. I peeked my head into each one of them. And I actually learned a lot of really good information from it. But it's a conference that's truly about giving back. It's not focused on sales. We tried to make the ticket sales as affordable as possible. We had the sponsors pick up a little bit more of that cost so we could decrease our ticket sales to make it very affordable, because we want the mom and pop investor to come in. We don't want there to be a barrier of entry that they can't get in because they're paying for their kids' school. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear that someone couldn't come because it was too expensive. That would take my soul and it would crush it. The main point is making an impact and helping you make that next step in your investment journey. Is it finding the right professional partner? Is it finding the right coach? Is it just understanding the education and getting clarity? Or is it just being surrounded by the right people? Because you're going to get all those things by coming to REIcon.
Very cool. So you're going to have it again next year. It's for real estate investors of any level. It'll be in Edmonton again sometime in the fall next year, to be announced.
Yeah, we're aiming for the third week of September next year. We'll have the date rolled out likely in November. And I think we already have a bunch of pre-sale that has already happened. We don't have tickets we don't have an ongoing ticket sale right now, but we had a ton of pre-sale from everybody that joined the event, which I'm really excited about. So we'll have a lot of familiar faces, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We're ramping it up. The 2.0 version is going to be another level. So
that's awesome. All right, so I got one last question here. So you're running a successful brokerage in the real estate game. You're a successful real estate investor. You've got this successful REIcon conference going on. You clearly spend lots of hours at the gym. How do you balance it all? How do you have all these things in the air, and how do you maintain that work-life balance so the family sees you occasionally? How do you prioritize?
You have to schedule it. What's helped me is having other team members that can help support me in the evening. So, talking to my family and finding out when are the most important hours for them, usually evenings. So I have a really good team that's able to help support me and take on a lot of those appointments in the evening to allow me to spend the time with my family. So you got to have people to help support you. You got to have those team members. And most importantly, time blocking can really assist your ability to stay focused and stay, it's so easy to feel like every day is in a blender as a business owner, as you probably know, Darren, where it feels like you do everything and you're just being reactive the entire day. Those are some of the most unproductive days, in my opinion. You want to be proactive and control your time. Controlling your time is time blocking and only focusing on that task within that hour. That means uninterrupted girlfriend time. That means cell phone down during dinner, focusing on that time, because I guarantee you're going to regret it. If you spent half the time on your phone, you're going to feel like a silly idiot afterwards, and your girlfriend's not going to like you anymore for it. So focus and take control of your time, because it's so easy as a business owner to not and just be in that reactive state all the time. And you're not going to feel productive, and you're not going to get the goals done that you need to. And it's going to take a lot longer to make those, the movement in your business overall. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a work in progress for me. I'm a lot better at it now, but like even like just blocking off full days where you're not working and you're not you know you're not doing anything, those are going to be really productive days for you. I got a friend of mine. He goes, I finally convinced my partner to go to 4 days a week. He was a guy was getting older, but he was just working nonstop. And he goes, he's first 3 day weekend he came in on Monday and goes, I've been thinking about that merger you wanted to do for the last 6 months. And now that I've thought about it, I think we should do it. And it was like, because his mind wasn't clear to actually think about that. And so to try to block that time away, and I love the blocking the time at night, saying, no, these are fixed boundaries that I'm not going to work. Now, there's always the exception, but as an entrepreneur, sometimes the exception becomes the norm, and you got to be really careful on time blocking to say, this is when I'm going to do this. And I find people don't spend time to work on the business. Like one of my most productive times is when I'm on an airplane and I've got my notebook out and a blank piece of paper. By the time I land somewhere, maybe I didn't watch a movie, but I've got like 4 or 5 ideas. So I try to incorporate that for at least a couple mornings a week where I just get up with a blank piece of paper and just nothing but me and my thoughts for half an hour or an hour. And because you once your day starts, it's really hard to find that time to do that. And if you're not working on your business, it's really hard to grow. So
It's actually kind of peaceful too, isn't it? Like, get an espresso, have a notepad, right? And just sit down in your favorite space, whether it's outside, inside, go for a walk, sit on a park bench, take time for yourself and allow that space. Because I do agree, space allows you to grow. And if you don't create that space, just like infrastructure, if you want to build a bigger and better city, you need to get the bulldozer out at one point and you need to clear space. Because if there's no space and it's just clutter, how are you going to incorporate it? One of the best things I ever heard, like from the psychological side of things, Darren, I had a good friend, and he's been wanting to have a wife forever. Sounds like really weird. From high school, his main goal is to have a wife. He's now 35 and still doesn't have a wife. Anyways, that's another thing. But his main goal is to have a family. And he went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist asked him, do you have space to have a wife? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. Like, well, tell me about your living situation. What kind of bed do you live in? He's like, well, I live in this townhouse and I have a twin bed. And then she's like, okay. And she's not saying anything. She's just asking questions. That's what psychiatrists do. You gain clarity to yourself by, just speaking aloud. And then she's like, okay, well, what is your living situation? Do you guys have a dining room table where you sit down and eat? And he's like, no, I don't need to. I sit on the couch and watch TV. And he's thinking like, she's an idiot at this point. Like, why is she asking me these questions? She's like, okay, so what kind of garage do you have? She's like, well, he's like, I need a garage. I love working on cars. And she's like, what kind of garage? And he's like, I have a double garage. And she's like, okay, do you have space for like another vehicle? And he's like, no. And then he sat back in his chair and he's like, why is she asking me all these questions? And he's like, I know exactly why. He's like, I don't create space in my life for the goals that are the most important to me. Once I allow space in my life, I can find an opportunity to grow the goals that are most important to me.
very cool. All right. I love it. Your social media handles, we've got Calvin Realty, Calvin Hexter, and REIcon. That's REIcon. We're going to put all the links down in the show notes. You want to learn more about Calvin, encourage you to reach out if you want to learn more. And if you get a chance to attend that conference next September, you won't regret it. Calvin, thanks so much for your time. Have an amazing day. Thanks for watching this episode of Control and Compound. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you never miss a new episode. And if you're ready to learn more, head to our website, controlandcompound.com. The link's below.